Perfect. Well, welcome everyone to Crafting a Human-to-Human Buying Experience for B2B, presented by BigCommerce and Bluesnap. A little bit of introductions here. So I'm Edward Mills. I'm the Senior Strategic Partner Manager at BigCommerce. I manage our relationships with partners for payments, banking, and B2B payments specifically. And my fun fact is I learned how to operate a farming tractor before I learned how to drive a car. So I like to call myself an amateur tractor operator.
It's awesome. Have you moved on to the second slide? And I'm not, okay, there it is. Okay, cool. All right, great. Thanks, Edward. Again, it's great to be partnered with you on this speaking engagement. And so far, what's been a very engaging virtual conference. I'm Joe Twer. I'm Sales Director at Bluesnap. I've been working, I guess, at Bluesnap for 8 years now, but I've been in the, I call it banking and now kind of fintech space for over 20 years. So I spent time in banking and enterprise software for financial institutions, and now spending all of my time jumping out of bed, working for Bluesnap and helping companies like we're talking about today optimize their payment stack. My kind of fun fact or claim to fame right now is I'm the champion at ping pong for Bluesnap. Now, we've been obviously put on hold from some of our very competitive tournaments at the office. But one thing to point out is that ping pong is a really good social distance type of an event because the table itself is 9 feet long. So you're at that distance where you're not in the same germ space. So I'm the current champ and happy to take on all comers with challenges.
I love bringing ping pong into the modern era with social distance. It's such a great analogy, and I can't say that operating tractors is as exciting, but it is socially distanced because it's just you and the land. So, just thinking about it that way is kind of fun.
Good point.
So,
yeah, very safe.
Yeah, both activities very safe. So for today's agenda, we'll be doing a little bit of meeting BigCommerce and Bluesnap, talking about our partnership and what our organizations do. We'll be going over some B2B e-commerce growth trends that we've seen from our experiences. We have a couple of really exciting customer stories that we want to share with everyone, and then just recapping a few of the key takeaways from our conversation today. So a little bit about BigCommerce is we are the leading open SaaS platform for all stages of e-commerce growth. My personal favorite way of describing us is we are the scaling platform. So whether you're a growing SMB business, mid-market, or a large enterprise, we are able to assist you with your e-commerce goals at all stages of that life cycle. So as you're growing as an SMB, we can scale with you to meet the needs of your business. And if you're an enterprise who's B2C, B2B, both are growing in either direction. We're able to assist you in anything that comes your way and meeting the challenges and overall growth goals that you may have in the e-commerce space. So we have a lot of clients ranging the gamut between B2B and B2C, as well as from SMB to all the way up to enterprise. So it's a very exciting time in e-commerce, and we really enjoy working with our clients to meet their growth goals overall.
Yeah, and I'll say kudos to you guys, Edward. First off, we love partnering with you guys on projects, and you already this morning you've received quite a few highlights for the flexibility of the BigCommerce platform as it's able to velocitize these different B2B commerce experiences and provide that agility, the flexibility to do all of that. So I've used the word one time already, so just mark that down. This is from Rich's 1-800 Batteries talk just prior to us. So Bluesnap is an all-in-one payment platform. So we are helping companies all over the world increase their overall sales and revenue across a number of different transactional channels, as well as reduce their costs. And the best way that we do this is really digging into what are the current transactional channels and what are the new ones, or the the areas that need to be optimized. And, and a big part of what's going on right now that we're going to spend time talking about is this whole focus on digital transformation and moving these experiences, these human-to-human buying experiences, more into a streamlined invoicing and customer portal type of experience, or more into an online ordering capability, and automating it and optimizing it in a global manner. So this is really what Bluesnap does. We have the benefit of being able to, with a single platform, offer up over 100 currencies and over 100 different payment methods, and connect to all of the key systems that are out there to make things, as Rich was saying in his prior speaking engagement, interconnected in this flexible, agile manner.
Fantastic. And just one last thing I'll say before we move on from this section is, part of my favorite part of my role at BigCommerce is being able to partner with people like Bluesnap, who are really bringing these just such innovative activities to our mutual clients, and really creating strong partnerships that help our merchants grow and continue to grow over time. So really love the partnership that we've had so far. So let's jump into B2B e-commerce. So it is growing. Now, this chart here is a forecast from Forrester Analytics, and it shows that B2B e-commerce is growing at roughly 1% year over year going forward, and is expected to continue to do so, which is very exciting to see. Now, something to think about is that as B2B grows into e-commerce, it starts to almost operate more similar to a direct-to-consumer channel, in the sense of it's now becoming easier and more convenient, better to look at for buyers and sellers who are operating in the B2B space. And as things become more e-commerce forward, we're expecting it to become more transactional through online e-commerce. And if you think about it as a consumer, we're also trained to use these powerful tools like one-click and managing your recurring orders or subscriptions online, and managing all your payments and your payment methods through a portal. And we're seeing that these same experiences are starting to come true for buyers, because they're consumers just like the rest of us, really. And they're all used to these habits and used to these new changes in the e-commerce space. So they're starting to expect them as they work with B2B channels in the e-commerce space.
Yeah, I'll agree wholeheartedly there, Edward. I think, between the fact that you've got this dispersed workforce, the fact that everybody is now, whether it's buying groceries for their household, or, ordering, takeout or food delivery, or any number of things, going to the gym each day, but through a virtual type of exercise. The expectations are that it's at home, it's digital, it's user friendly, it's mobile optimized. I think that's a big one to focus in on. And as it relates to B2B, from an ordering and a payment and an invoicing type of perspective, the expectation now is more ease of being able to pay with, say, that corporate credit card, or that virtual accounts payable card, which is now one of the hotter, more disruptive technologies that is pushing things forward. So being able to have the convenience of, even if it's a large dollar amount, paying simply online with a virtual card or a corporate credit card, or a bank account on file, without having to take a lot of headaches and extra clicks and filling out forms or getting approvals, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that really feeds really well into the next one, which is, as the e-commerce trend continues to grow for B2B, we're seeing those behaviors evolve alongside it. A really interesting stat at the top of this slide is that 74% of B2B buyers report researching at least half of their work purchases online. So they're spending a lot of time researching products similar to how they would as a consumer, checking in to see, what have others said about this buying experience, or how have others reported working with this merchant, etc. So we're really seeing some interesting behaviors that are changing as things become more e-commerce focused in the B2B space. Another kind of neat one here is that B2B e-commerce will account for 17% of all B2B sales in the US by 2023. If you think back to that slide we just looked at with the graph, that's showing really strong growth trajectory over time, and reaching up to $1.8 trillion in overall B2B e-commerce, which is very significant. And so it all sort of feeds together. And as we get more used to this e-commerce space, this new normal when it comes to selling online, B2B is going to be moving that direction, and buyers and merchants are going to be evolving their behaviors to meet those needs going forward.
Yeah, agreed. It's great stats, and I think this this topic of kind of evolving, and moving so quickly, so rapidly, is really important. Certainly to look at whether it's launching or just optimizing the buying experience, and being able to set up that channel, that commerce channel, in a manner that's flexible, agile, mobile focused, supports global, all of those certain capabilities.
Absolutely, absolutely. And would you like us to talk a little bit about some of the behaviors that are still lagging behind?
Yeah, definitely. I think, let's see if we're shifting the slide here. It's not turned yet on my side.
Is the screen share updating for you, Joe?
No, it didn't update for me.
It's updated on this end, Joe. It says B2B payment.
Oh, there it goes. Now it's there.
Right.
I guess I'm on a delay, a lunchtime break delay.
I think you need to velocitize your internet, Joe.
Yes,
good job.
I probably,
good job, Edward.
I probably do. How many is that, Edward? Is that one for you?
That's one on the board.
Each? All right, great. So I think from a Bluesnap perspective, what we have seen is that one, the traditional B2B companies that have been talked about already this morning. These are kind of classic. You're talking about folks within industrial manufacturing, folks that typically were handling things through a high-touch sales force, on-site visits, and then ultimately processing payments for their orders through things like purchase orders, wires, getting invoices in the mail, and checks. Is that core underlying payment and transactional piece of it is lagging behind the sort of the user experience. So everybody now is, as I mentioned, is used to paying online, through the Amazon effect. And so as you're looking at these B2B commerce projects, the big focus point of companies is to be able to figure out how they're going to shift the payments piece of it online in the proper compliant, risk averse manner, with all of the right check boxes for their legal approach, and really dealing with this because the payments piece of it was kind of the last. I'll give a good example. So large project, large manufacturer in the painting space, for that's dealing directly with businesses all over the world, and typically did not have any type of digital experience or digital online type of customer portal or invoicing portal for their customers to order paint, reorder paint, things like that. And they've now, because of COVID, because of what's going on in the space, they've shifted to online. And the first phase of what they've shifted to, because they need to take it sort of this very careful crawl, walk, run manner, is to be able to have their existing customers that have credit on file with them go through that online buying experience. So they're only allowing sort of the orders to take place with folks that have credit. They already have done the kind of know your customer credit checks, things like that, with these customers globally. And those guys are going to be the first one that are going to be allowed through their new invoicing app and online experience. So payments is kind of interesting, and how it's evolving, and it's lagging behind in this,
Yeah,
human
we totally
buying
agree.
experience.
And something that we're seeing more and more on BigCommerce is our merchants are really looking to take that accounts receivable function of their B2B business online and move more towards online invoicing and online payment management as a way to sort of circumvent going around the traditional methods of checks being mailed or human-to-human contact when it comes to dealing with COVID-19. So we're seeing great increase in more and more merchants wanting to manage their entire platform and accounts receivable electronically through a single platform. And we expect that to continue as B2B continues to grow in this e-commerce space going forward.
Good points. Yeah, so I think in addition to that, Edward, one of the things we wanted to just point out here is how, I guess when we're talking about B2B commerce, B2B e-commerce, what we're spending our time focused in on today is more of the traditional B2B, not the what I'll call the classic cloud-based business-to-business companies that have already stood up a successful DIY type of a site, where it's got a product picker page and they've got their product bundles out there, and maybe there's a trial version of the software, the SaaS product, and all of that is built out, and they're just focusing in on optimizing it. What we're talking about more here is the traditional side of B2B that haven't had that digital experience. And I think one of the, the earlier, I think Brian Beck did a great job sort of laying the foundation for how much opportunity there is here, because so many of these manufacturing companies, these B2B traditional companies, they don't even have their products online. They don't have a website set up to even get to the point where they can look at products, look at ordering options, and then maybe get it to a point where they then engage a salesperson. So there's a big opportunity here. And what's complicated about the traditional B2B shifting to digital and making this kind of human-to-human buying experience happen is the fact that you've got complexities around connections to traditional back office systems that are driving all of the SKUs, the pricing, the discounting, the inventory factors, even complicated things like we talked automotive in the last session, and automotive on kind of a B2B side with fleets, or even like in the case of Mack Truck with their trucks, aftermarket truck parts. That's so complicated because of lining up thousands and thousands of part numbers and making sure that there's a match to this generations and generations of Mack trucks that are out there on the road. So it's complicated, it's hard. You need to build out something that's flexible. However, if you can do it right, the experience and the volume of transactions, certainly what we've seen here at Bluesnap, the money is just far greater than actually, and the opportunities is far greater than the B2B side or B2C side, which has kind of smaller transactional values. The average order values here on the B2B side is so significant that if you're able to set it up right and optimize it, you can really make a big difference in shrinking kind of your order to cash. So having a big impact operationally efficiencies on order to cash, so cash flow, which is so critical during this time of the pandemic, and as well as so critical to helping get paid during this dispersed workforce situation.
I completely agree with everything you just said. And something I kind of want to double click on in this efficiency scenario is the last bullet here, which comes from compliance and legal. So I've actually been joining a lot of calls recently with large B2B enterprises where they say, look, we are going online, but the biggest jumping point or hurdle for us is how do we manage all of our compliance metrics in our ecosystem to make sure that everything is compliant and secure as we make the transition to e-commerce. And so it's really big to understand that having a e-commerce platform and working with partners like Bluesnap to help keep all of your payments, your big orders, your recurring orders, and any sort of returns or approval processes that you have to be compliant and ready with your legal team is incredibly important, and something that actually becomes more efficient through online management of those tools. So you can really set your own rules when it comes to, how do you set up approvals for returns or for changing large orders in place to make it so that your compliance team has great connection and visibility into what's going on with your overall business and can really make it as efficient as possible. So no longer are you trying to chase down individuals and, keep a paper trail, but rather everything is managed and controlled in an online platform where it can be easily reviewed by your compliance and legal teams.
Yeah, it's a great point. And the last point I'll make on kind of this topic or this particular slide is when we are discussing these projects with our customers, there's really kind of two main buckets that we put them into, Edward. We with B2B. So we put him into these two buckets. One we call AR web or accounts receivable web. So this is kind of that classic situation where orders have come through for products or services, and they're bought through with net terms associated. They have an existing contract, and they've got net terms 30, 45, what have you. And then it's up to kind of the accounts receivable teams, the collections, credit, and whatnot at the business to be able to provide a web-like experience for these receivables that are due to the company. So that's AR web, and typically it's driven from a back office ERP system like NetSuite or SAP. There's also then the e-commerce channel that is also the sort of the other opportunity here. And sometimes they both happen. Sometimes you start with one and then shift to the other. But those are kind of the two, I guess, use case buckets that I'm thinking about.
Absolutely. I think that makes total sense. Oh, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, and then that kind of leads us into some of these use cases and customer stories that we have outlined here in the presentation today. So the first one is kind of a fun story. I like it because of how much of a great impact it had early on in the pandemic related to medical supplies. So this is a customer of ours within the construction space that is basically their whole business was focused on construction projects for developing office space, expanding office space, optimizing it, modernizing it, whatnot. And then obviously Corona hit, and all of those projects were put on hold. But because of the nature of the company, their access to their supply chain, their access to different products and materials in their ecosystem, they were able to quickly pivot and into this medical supplies delivery and offering to hospitals, big healthcare organizations, state-funded different situations around bigger things like beds, for example, and the need to get beds out there. But one of the things that this pivot created at the company was a big shift in how they were actually going to get paid for these orders, and a need for flexible online rapid invoicing, order taking, and payments. And their existing kind of way that they did things, if you think of a big construction project, it's got multiple phases. You maybe set up the contract from the get-go, and maybe there's 7 payments based on different milestones that are going to occur, and those payments probably are going to go via wire, or maybe they're going to send a check. This was a totally different experience because they were rapidly getting beds out to these organizations, and they really needed a payment link, is what they did with Bluesnap, to quickly send out, hey, you've ordered beds, it's $350,000 for that order. Go ahead and pay. And the customers they were telling them they wanted to pay with a credit card because that was the easiest way for them to have payment. So pretty neat story here.
I really love the story, because I think
the
a lot of it
construction
ties
space.
back to what we said earlier on in the conversation about, you need to understand the most efficient ways for you to get paid in the new e-commerce environment. And you also need to understand how to make it as easy and convenient and simple for your buyers as possible, so that they can set up their recurring orders, set up their orders with you in a very smooth manner, similar to how they're used to with their own consumer shopping. So, this story, I think, really just points out a lot of that as a really powerful mover for these B2B merchants.
The next one is another customer story that really reinforces the this kind of crawl, walk, run situation. And one of the neat drivers here that hopefully the audience will appreciate is the tipping point for this particular company, who's in the big data investing data software space globally, was that they have all of these licenses for their software, and over 100 different software packages and products that they're selling. And they have hundreds of or thousands of customers that are paying under $20,000 in license fees annually for this particular software. And what they realized was that they were treating those guys like an enterprise client, and expecting to get paid in an enterprise fashion. And it was very hard for them to keep track of that, as well as automate that payment flow for these customers that owe less than $20,000. So these customers have given them feedback saying, hey, why can't you make it easier for us to pay automatically with a credit card that we have on file, or a bank account that we have on file with you guys, and just renew that, renew our license fee, quarterly, annually, monthly, depending on the situation. So they were able to move forward with that, and we've seen kind of this term, the flexible, agile type of approach. So we started out with an easy way to embed essentially a Pay Now button inside their with their collections team for emails that were going out, as well as invoices that they were sending out to customers, and it was such a huge success that their rest of the organization started to rally around this idea of moving more and more of their products online, and to automate more and more of the payments, even for their enterprise guys. So now we're doing things like connecting directly to their in-house built billing system for payments, connecting their products onto an online e-commerce type of an experience, where you've got this try before you buy type of a flow. And it's really a great story of this, start out with just, this crawl step to get paid for, these guys that owe less than $20,000 in fees, and rapidly start to get paid during this dispersed kind of workforce pandemic situation. And now moving into all these
stands out in the story is the siloed systems. And, we have had a lot of conversations where, businesses who are jumping online into e-commerce in B2B specifically have said, we have all these fragmented, siloed systems. It's very inefficient. We want to be able to manage it all succinctly and make it very simple, so that, we know when we're going to get paid. We can make it easy to get paid and easy for our buyers to purchase from us. And that's just been a huge conversation piece over the last couple of months and even years, is how do we break down these silos to really drive those efficiencies and do it in a proactive manner so that we can get to that run phase and really be humming on all cylinders in the e-commerce space. So it's just, I think it really just speaks to that very well.
Yeah, thanks. It's fun working with these companies. I think the other one that we, the last case study that we have to share here, Edward, is classic unicorn valued company who's just grown very rapidly all over the world with their a whole variety of their kind of outsourced IT automation solutions that they provide to businesses all over the world, a variety of different verticals that they operate in. And as part of their growth and acquisition, their big tipping point came into this operational inefficiencies as well as exploring cash flows and costs. And that's what really drove this to a decision point where they recognized that they had so many different payment gateways, over 10 different payment gateways that they were working with. They had at least 6 different billing engines that they were trying to pull data from. Their collections team and their reconciliation accounting team really didn't know which way was up. They were constantly just chasing payments, chasing customers, seeing the days just grow and days sales outstanding for their metrics. And so they had to do something about it. And this was all about kind of consolidation around their billing systems, the subscribers, cash flows, and reconciliation, and to ultimately continue to grow through acquisition. They just bought another company in Australia, for example, but to have it all streamlined for their accounting reconciliation process for tracking collections and outstanding invoices and usage-based billing and things like that.
And this just speaks back to I think something that we've talked a lot on this conversation, which is just creating that really strong efficiency for your organization and for these merchants through going on to e-commerce is just so powerful when it comes to helping with cash flow, helping with overall sustainability and reconciliation. It's just such a powerful move forward. So one last sort of speaking point that we had is we wanted to talk a little bit about what we've seen since COVID-19 started. The 2 bullets here are just some examples of how this has affected B2B merchants, but one, the double-edged sword sort of approach. So COVID-19 caused a huge upheaval in the marketplace, as everyone is well aware of, and it required a lot of B2B merchants to reevaluate their traditional methods to see how they can adapt to this new normal. So on one side of the sword, it was we have a lot of work to do to understand how we adapt in this new environment. But on the other side is we actually saw a lot of B2B merchants finding great success when it came to getting online, just like through the case studies that Joe walked us through just a moment ago, and finding those new efficiencies and creating new ways to really make their organization hum very smoothly going forward. So it was a very exciting thing to see, as there was adversity that also turned into some really great action in the e-commerce space. And the second one here being the new normal of e-commerce. We're expecting these habits and these actions of B2B to act more like a direct-to-consumer channel going forward, creating really easy ways for buyers to make payments on their invoices and for merchants to manage and control their invoices and their overall infrastructure all through e-commerce platforms going forward. And what's interesting is since this big shift with COVID-19 started, is we're seeing more and more of our B2C or direct-to-consumer merchants actually expanding into the B2B space online, creating new arms of their businesses that didn't exist before in order to continue to expand their business through this new normal of e-commerce. And on the flip side of that is we're seeing the same thing. Many B2B merchants who are doing everything through traditional methods are now getting online and then expanding their enterprises into direct-to-consumer channels. hey, we're managing it all very efficiently, and this has given us more time and more thought space in order to start tackling how do we go direct to that consumer, or how do we expand our business to continue to grow and be successful in the coming years. So overall, there's been some very exciting things to come through this new shift to e-commerce, and it started with a little bit of adversity in the market, throughout this time period.
Yeah, it's great points, and I think I've already seen through the conference today some of the questions or chat or comments about directed to BigCommerce, for example, about, hey, we have a BigCommerce existing site for B2C. How can I bolster that or update it or enhance that so that it can support B2B type use cases that we have at the company as well. And then obviously the big one, that's really interesting with the 1-800 batteries, just this fascinating rapid, I guess, development of these B2B marketplaces, and being able to have kind of multiple sellers working in conjunction for products and services globally to the end client. One of my favorite recent survey taglines that I'll mention related to this, what we learned is from a partner of ours called AppDirect, who focuses in on kind of subscription-based marketplaces. And they found that just recently, this week, 69% of companies have accelerated digital commerce initiatives in response to pandemic era challenges. So, more than two-thirds of companies that we're talking about are accelerating their digital initiatives. They're, updating, technology. I mean, I would say that CIOs and CTOs of companies are as busy as ever out there exploring initiatives and thinking about how they can get these projects done. But, you look at, when they're talking about the pandemic era challenges, what does that really mean? And to me, and to what we've seen at Bluesnap, it means a couple things. One, it means the pivoting that I talked about earlier in the presentation. So you've, certain businesses, products, services, what you maybe were doing prior to the pandemic now needs to change. So you need to pivot your business. And because you're pivoting your business, you're needing to update the way you're going to get paid for those new products and services. You need to update the rev share models for maybe your dealer and distributor networks, and how they're going to interact with the pivot. And then the other thing that it certainly has dramatically changed is just the payments and getting paid. And the fact that we are in this work from home dispersed workforce, where you're not able to mail out an invoice and have it arrive in the mail at your customer. They open the invoice and then they set up kind of a check that then gets signed by the treasurer of the company and gets mailed back. None of that applies anymore. And so you've got companies that were used to handling all of that, those payments manually as a big part of their revenue. And even though it was manual, they had enough people to deal with it. They now need to change technology and change their approach on how they're going to get paid. And that's with simple things like, customized encrypted payment links that are dynamic to recognize that you've got a customer that's trying to pay you from London, and they need to be able to pay in pounds versus US dollars, for example. So having that type of partnership, with Bluesnap's technology is dynamic like that and optimizes those types of situations for these organizations. And we've certainly been, fortunate to be involved in helping with a lot of
absolutely.
these projects.
And I think similar to that is as B2B businesses get more and more involved with e-commerce, we're really seeing that this isn't exactly a trend that is going to go away at any point. We think that this new normal of e-commerce for B2B is going to continue into the ongoing future. And just some of the exciting things we've heard from our clients is how easy it is to manage their customer segmentation, provide the right pricing to the right customers and specific customer lists so that it's very convenient for them to manage their ordering processes and not have to have manual paperwork to keep those things in line. And then work with partners like yourself on how to create fantastic payment solutions that make it very easy for their customers to purchase and for them to manage their purchases. So overall, we're just seeing a lot of empowerment behind e-commerce growth in the B2B space.
Well, gentlemen, this is Tim. I'm just cutting in for a moment. We're starting to get some questions. Just want to see if you guys want to take a few of them. There's one from John. Is BigCommerce ever going to be able to accept purchase orders as a B2B feature? Established customers paying on terms with a purchase order, not going away anytime soon. Will BigCommerce make this a native feature, or will it remain an app provided by a third party?
I can't speak specifically to what's on our product roadmap, but that is a piece of feedback we've gotten before. And currently we have partners that are able to assist with this piece of information. But if there are changes in the future, more than happy to follow up on that.
Excellent. And we do have one other question I see out there from Jared. Is it too late for brands to prepare for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday season?
I would say absolutely not. It's never too late to start preparing for this season. And if you're a brand who is new to e-commerce, it's actually very simple to get up and running very quickly. With the platforms that are available like BigCommerce, you can get set up within a matter of days and start transacting pretty darn fast. You'd be surprised. So if you're really thinking about jumping online for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday season, I think you can do it.
I think I would add to that too. It seems like this year, different from other years, of course, because of COVID, among other things, but it seems like the season began October 13th with Prime Day. So I've talked with so many folks about how things started to kick into high gear for them and for their businesses. And I don't know when it's going to let up. I think it's just going to continue going like this until the season is over.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'll add into that is just make sure that as you're looking at the high velocity of payments and the different campaigns and things like that, that you have factored in things like redundancy and failover and downtime and all of those potential hiccups that are credit card declines and unexpected declines or payment issues that could come to bite you and not having kind of the right failover or the backup.
No, very interesting point. I mean, and I want to give you guys a few more minutes, of course, because we do have about 15 before our networking break. But I think I'll take just a moment to tell everyone here that we want to thank you all for joining this great event that we had today. It's still going. We still have a bit more after the networking break as well. So it's the third installment of Digital Commerce Today with a focus on B2B e-commerce. And we've had speakers from many wonderful groups, including Bluesnap, BigCommerce, Trellis, and Seba, 1-800-battery.com, Punch Out to Go, and of course, the Hard Truth About B2B Commerce podcast, which is very close to my own heart. So I could throw it back to you guys to I haven't seen any more questions come in chat, but if is there another topic that you would like to kind of dive into a little deeper in the minutes that we have remaining before the next break?
Well, Tim, we outlined a couple takeaways and happy to mention these. They're not rocket science here. Certainly, a lot of these have been mentioned throughout the course of our presentation, as well as in prior presentations already. But I think as you look at the shift to digital, shift to online, shift to e-commerce like flows for traditional B2B companies, as we talked about or heard, you know, it can be a daunting task because you've got these traditional systems that are really driving, you know, the product details and the offers and SKUs and pricing and have algorithms built in based on, you know, customers and what type of discount they have because of the relationship and the contract associated with that customer. All of these systems that weren't naturally built to be stood up or power kind of an e-commerce or an online type of a flow, or even, you know, be able to power just something simple like an online invoice or a customer portal that has invoices. So, you know, we do recognize that change is hard and that these initiatives, they're, you know, they're complex. They require some thought. They each have, you know, their unique attributes about them because of different systems. But we would say that not getting paid is harder than actually making the change. So recognizing that you know, your customers are demanding easier kind of human-to-human B2C-like experiences to pay their invoices or to order products and services is certainly a critical aspect of getting going on this stuff. In addition to that, I would also add in the fact that, you know, with this the concept of you've got extra scrutiny around things like credit card payment acceptance, data privacy components, other compliance, taxes, legal aspects of you know, getting invoices paid online or products ordered and paid for online. So be sure to work closely with partners that kind of have your back related to things around risk management, around fraud protection, that know about compliance and data privacy expectations, and that can really help, you know, whether it's driven from a product person, an e-commerce manager, a digital manager, or the CIO or CTO, that can help, a partner that can help kind of alleviate the fears that are going to come in from the information security group or the legal or compliance group that's going to say, no, we can't do this. So that's another kind of
yeah, and then I think the two that I'd like to talk about are, you know, think about your buyer's experience.
Edward?
So not necessarily thinking of direct to consumer versus B2B, but rather, you know, what is the best and easiest way for my buyer to purchase from me? Like we stated in the beginning, we're all consumers. We're all very used to these conveniences of one click, of order management, of payment management and payment systems and methods management, and making those similar to the experiences that they're used to can make it so that a buyer has a great experience in purchasing online and will come back to your business or to your merchant in multiple, you know, repeat purchases very easily. So just think about how to make that buyer experience as seamless and smooth as possible, and it'll be very effective. And then the next is, this is sort of my motto, but the walk, run, sprint. Take a measured approach to your e-commerce strategy as you jump in with B2B. So start to look at, you know, as you get started, what are some of the silos or fragmented parts of your organization that can be broken down to drive greater efficiency for your business? And are there partners in the ecosystem like Bluesnap or BigCommerce or others that can help you break those down and really see, you know, overall get a good view of how your B2B business is going in e-commerce and growing going forward. So it's just very important to take a measured approach as you jump in with e-commerce.